All right, guys. Today we are on our video. Today we are going to talk about the Black Templars teaser trailer that GW just dropped yesterday. All right, so here we are. We are going to talk about this awesome new teaser trailer that GW just dropped yesterday. Um, So thank you so much for joining us. We are going to show you the video. We're going to share our thoughts on it and kind of what is coming up. They dropped this right at the end of their live stream yesterday. You can see here I've got their Warhammer community page up with the info about what they were talking about here. So yeah. So Bob, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a great little teaser to kind of validate everything that's been kind of going around rumor wise within the community. So it kind of sums up 16 years of need for the community. I feel we got some hinters about what this means, but a lot of community members really kind of wanted validation from Games Workshop to show that it actually was being thought about. And this kind of does that. You can kind of see in their little blurb, it's going to tie into Octarius a little bit, but hopefully that doesn't mean that we're going to be in a narrative book. But even if we are, I'll be pretty happy with that. Um, but it's a pretty cool thing that we got an actual trailer with this to announce it rather than just a blog post. So it means that they're putting some time and effort into it. So I don't know about you, but I love it.
Yeah, I was really surprised by this. I wasn't expecting us to get something this weekend. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. Guys from the BNC, the Bolter and Chainsword, Chapter Master Valrak. I know you have said some stuff. But I was not expecting it to be this soon. I thought we would get more information maybe a little bit later in the summer. You know, definitely a surprise, but a welcome one. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video, and we will give our thoughts on it immediately after.
Suffer not the unclean to live. Lead us from death to victory, from falsehood to truth. Lead us from despair to hope, from faith to slaughter. Lead us to his strength and an eternity of war. Let his wrath fill our hearts. Death, war, and blood. In vengeance, serve the Emperor. In the name of Dawn.
All right. So that was pretty awesome. Know that if some of you didn't know, those words are actually, if you look back in our old fourth edition codex, those words are from the vow "Suffer not the unclean to live." So that is a really awesome nod to that old codex. I love that. That's one of the coolest things about this trailer to me. Obviously, that Black Templar in there is very clearly an Emperor's champion. He is very much modeled after the existing one. Even his backpack looks like the backpack that we get in the chapter upgrade sprue, which I think is really cool. A lot of really great nods in there, and just a really awesome teaser video. Bob, what did you think?
Yeah, I really like the idea that, initially at first, when you're taking a look at it, it's pretty dark and grim, but it really makes you focus on the vow that he's giving. I like the subtle echo in the background of the voice. It actually makes it sound when you can see that champion there. It's him saying the prayer in front of that the statue there. So I think that's a nice little touch there to kind of give it the feeling of realism that he's actually giving that
Hmm.
prayer
Yeah.
to to Dorn and the Emperor. So I really like that touch on that. And plus the look of that chapel.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's classic BD, especially if you look at some of the old artwork in the old fourth edition codex. That really like grimy, grimdark look that I think some of the new art has gotten away from a little bit. But yeah, it really captures that and evokes that, which is awesome for us. So yeah, so obviously we're getting something. Um, what form that will take, I think, is uh, still yet to be seen. Obviously, Chapter Master Valrak has said that, and others, who have some inside sources have corroborated some of this as well, that we are getting a full range refresh. So the uh, all the characters are going to get new Primaris versions. We're going to get Crusader squads that are Primaris. We're going to get Sword Brethren that are Primaris, and even a couple new characters as well. And then Cenobite Servitors. Well, they won't be Primaris, obviously, but yeah. So definitely excited for that if that is ends up being the case. I was expecting us to just get one, maybe two characters. So we'll see if that all comes to fruition or not. Something would be really, really cool if it did. That would be awesome. We have such a unique look. And I think that it would be really cool to have, a dedicated kit like that again for because we haven't seen really a dedicated kit for Space Marines. Um, it for a specific chapter in a while, really since Primaris came out. And I mean, yes, there are labeled as such, like the new Space Wolf, essentially Reavers. I forget what they're called, um, but that's just a Reavers kit with an upgrade sprue in it. It's not an actual separate kit. So if we do get actual kit, that's really good um, for not just Space Marines in general, but for 40K. I think having faction specific kits is really important to keep hobbyists interested with different types of flavor that you can use, and kit bashing stuff is really important.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. My first initial thoughts when I saw the rumors going around with like things like the Crusader squads is I'm thinking, well, are they just going to put some assault intercessors in a box and put an upgrade kit in there?
Yeah.
A la third edition Crusader squads. But
Which I think a lot of us would have been just happy with. But I mean, from what we're hearing, from what Valrak said, is it's an actual full kit.
yeah,
So, um, if that comes to pass, that'd be great. Um, I'm excited that we're getting something either way. I think, Bob, do you have any concerns going forward with this? What do you have anything that you're worried about?
uh, worried about? No, not necessarily. I think a good range refresh and the rules associated with them is only good. Um,
Yeah.
if you look at the rules that have been coming out of Games Workshop recently, they have all been solid pieces of work. Even the Caradon book, which is a narrative driven book, it's everything in there pretty much is competitive in one way or another. There's some things with the knights that are not as good, but you got the strife, you've got the rust, Metallica, all that stuff that is really good on the tabletop. So even the narrative books, if for some reason these get put in the narrative book, uh, would be good. But when you're looking at the Warhammer community site and it's up here on the screen, they have a little blurb here on it. Not just the teaser. I think that is very telling about what's going on. It does say it's in reaction to Octarius, so that kind of gives it a little bit of a hey, maybe it might be in a narrative book. But they have said already that they're going to be focusing on chaos with this next one. So, hoping that it's a supplement. But they are saying that, hey, look for the signs of the black armored space marines. So they're essentially confirming that they have something for Black Templars that's going to be model related, and it will be having something to do with Octarius. Whether or not that is going to be in a narrative book or not remains to be seen. So we're going to get obviously rules with things that we get refreshed on. They're not going to give us models and not put rules out for them. So
Yeah.
if it comes to pass that we have all of the models that are there, we're going to see a huge influx of rules. And presumably, we're going to get all of those supplements length rules with that. So you're going to get all of your new relics. You're going to get all of those stratagems that'll go with it. And with the supplements and the narrative books that are coming out right now, that's going to be a plethora of stuff. Now, I really do like a few things that are in current index that I really hope that plays into our current style play. I love the manipulation of the board. That's how I've always liked playing the game. Black Templars have traditionally done pretty well in one form or another with a drop pod deployment, or like in 5th and 6th edition, drop heavy. Now, obviously, we have Devout Push and the Emperor's Will and such like that. But I hope they still have some form of that where we can play around with the board and manipulate what's going on, because that's a really good way of playing it. I suspect they're going to do a little bit of a revamp on our rules for doctrines. Rumor has it that there's going to be a vow situation going on. So
That would be great.
that'll be fun. So I think that we're going to be seeing a pretty good refresh as far as the rules goes. Obviously right now larger squads are typically frowned upon, but in the past, they did reduce the initial cost of the Crusader squads, and you're starting to see some books kind of trend a little bit more into the Horde style play. The newest AdMech is a perfect example.
Yeah, large Skitarii squads.
Those guys, they're not cheap, but they're super durable, and if you can't kill them off the board, it's gonna be tough. If we get something like that, a unit or two might be plausible to get on the board and stuff up the center of the board. That would be kind of cool. I love the Horde style idea of Black Templars. It just hasn't been very plausible for us in the last few editions. I would love to see that kind of come into fruition now.
Yeah, and to your point about larger squads, on when I talk with other competitive players, almost always the talk is, oh, combat squad, your 10-man guys, combat squad, take 5-man squads, and weirdly, Black Templars don't play well into that because we have significant buffs that we want to apply to a large unit, like divine protection and fires of devotion, and things like that we want to make sure that Emperor's Will, devout push, we want to make sure that those units are, the whole unit benefits from those. There obviously are times when we should combat squad, like our Vanguard veterans and Terminators and things like that, as the game calls for it, depending on your opponent and the mission and stuff. But largely you're going to want to run that big unit, because they benefit much more from those buffs. So I would like to see the classic Black Tide list become a competitive option. I think that would be a lot of fun. The trouble is getting, in order to do that, you have to run cheaper units, which usually means troops. And troops just generally usually don't hit hard enough in order for that to work, and aren't durable enough for them to survive long enough, to win games, which is traditionally their problem. So seeing some kind of buff to them for a specific style of list like that, like if you take them in a certain squad size, or if you take them in a particular detachment, sort of like how Dark Angels have some special detachments where they get some special rules, where it would make that unit, those larger troop units, viable competitively, would be really cool. probably my uh, I, I guess I don't know if I'd call it a concern, but it's something that I'm really hoping GW does not do. Is I really hope we're not in a Crusade book or in a campaign book. Faith and Fury came around, and GW told us, or told the community, not us specifically, but told the community that, hey, you're going to get supplement level content, and it really wasn't like a full supplement compared to the other chapters. And I think we deserve a full supplement. If Death Watch can have one, so should we. And so that would really, it would be disappointing. I mean, even if the rules were great, that would be awesome. I'd still be happy. But there'd be part of me that'd be a little disappointed simply because, putting us in a campaign book, our supplement in another campaign book just kind of speaks to what GW thinks of us, that they don't necessarily think that we're worthy of a full supplement. So I'm hoping that it's going to be a full supplement. It should be a full supplement. Some things I would love to see in there. You mentioned vows. I think the return of vows would be awesome. Whether I've heard talk that it would be like replacing our super doctrine, that would be fine if there was choices and it was good enough. I think that'd be interesting. I'd like to see the Emperor's Champion go to like no force org slot, if you have like a captain or a chaplain or something like that in the list, so that way he's or give him a buff so that, I mean, he's great as a character killer right now, which is fine, but he doesn't buff the units around him. And in ninth edition, those support characters, buffing the units around them is really important, especially for us. So I would like to see either one of those two options, either where he can just not take up a valuable HQ slot, or just give him something that buffs the units around him. And then it'll be interesting to see what they do if we get a unique unit like Sword Brethren back, and what that unit looks like. Because obviously, anything that's a veteran is technically a Sword Brethren, fluff wise. So will be interesting to see what kind of unit they are. Like they used to have a special unit back in the old codex. I think that'll be interesting to see what they do with that. What kind of sort of wish list do you have, Bob?
Well, like you, I want to see some work around the Emperor's Champion. So they have in the previous few
He's such an
codexes
iconic
taken combat characters and given them buffs.
Yeah.
A good example is Drazar
Yeah.
from the Drukhari.
Hmm.
He was purely a combat character, and now he gives buffs.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that he does buff units.
Yeah.
And really, in the lore, you look at it, and he spurs the Crusaders on. He's the one that is
He's their
basically
inspiration.
like the champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he's around, everyone else fights harder.
Yeah.
So that would be something that would be very, very cool thematically, as well as having an amazing fighting character right there on the front lines. That's what we're known for.
Right.
We have our own Drazar.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into combat with him?
You definitely
Too
don't
bad.
want to get
We're gonna.
You definitely don't want to get into combat with him. That's for sure. Even his current incarnation, he is one of the most deadly characters in the game. So, but the problem is he doesn't do anything for anybody else around him, and we want those buffs. So yeah, that would be great. I think to see that.
As far as the other things I kind of looking for, I want some, like, besides the mobility tricks. I'm really all about the mobility and being able to get to the objectives. I do want something that really kind of plays into one of two things. First, I want to have the close combat
Hmm.
still being recognized as the primary mode of destruction for our opponents. So I want rules that kind of go into that. I'm okay with what we have, because really the game is about mobility and taking objectives and being durable like that. So I'm okay with that. But you still want to make a call out to the fact that, hey, we prefer killing the opponents in close combat. So give us some rules that kind of play around with that. More recently, our combat doctrine now has been okay as far as that goes, because it allows us to bypass some of those high toughness units that we're assaulting. orcs are going to be the new big thing, and our doctrine really fits into that really well with high numbers attack. So it's been getting better as the edition has been going through. But something that one I would almost rather have just 1+ attack, or something that generates maybe mortal wounds. That would be kind of cool.
Hmm.
We've talked about that before. Um, I even kind of talked a little bit about doing mortal wounds on the hit, and now that is not even outside the range of possibilities anymore, because you have
Yeah.
the succubus that can do that, 2 wounds, and other units that are similar. So
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
That'd be really
But the
powerful.
other, yeah, it would be really powerful. But at the same time, is that outside the range of possibilities anymore? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 months ago that was wish listing. Now it's
Right.
reality for several units out there.
Yep.
Um,
That
I would
succubus
be
is
okay
mean,
with it.
man. She killed half my
Yeah,
Vanguard vets in my last game.
yeah, they're crazy, and I would be okay if it's generated by a special character,
Yeah.
or whatnot, to kind of give that. If you have to have Grimaldus or Helbrecht, I would be okay with that, as long as the army wide we still get something
Yeah.
to go with that, even if it's just a minor buff. But the other big thing that I'm kind of looking for is something to really kind of fortify the idea that we are numberless and we're durable due to faith
Yeah.
in our stuff. So right now obviously we have the litany is a divine protection,
Hmm.
which gives us the 5+, which is awesome. But it's very limited in scope. You have to have it in one particular army. And the Black Templars in the lore and everything that is out there right now says, we're the toughest, meanest, angriest space marines out there. We don't care what the heck's going on with us. We're just gonna kind of just shrug it off and keep on going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lore out there that shows that, and I hope that kind of translates. I am a little bit concerned about some things with the codex keywords, because the rumors say that the Crusader squad is going to be a mixture of Primaris scouts and initiates,
Yeah.
kind of like the Death Watch can do. So I'm a little bit worried about the keyword interaction with that. Are they going to be able to be put in transports?
Yeah. I
What
would imagine
transports?
so. I would imagine even if because theoretically the scouts should not have uh, a Primaris keyword because they're not yet Primaris. They still have not gotten the Black Carapace, especially in the Black Templars where they're neophytes. Like they don't become full Marines until their initiate master says so. So I would imagine, there'd probably be like an exception that's like, written into their rules that, if this unit includes, neophytes, you know, they can ride in, any vehicle that requires Primaris or something like that. That would be an
Yeah.
easy way around that, without having to give them the Primaris keyword. Um, but I think it'll be interesting to see what they do. The lore is a little ambiguous about when exactly the units get, or the um, scouts get their Primaris organs in relation to when they get the Black Carapace and the other things. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle that from a rules perspective. Maybe that'll actually give us some more insight into the lore, which would be cool. Because Black Templars are the only the only army that does train their scout units, their new Space Marines in that manner. So that'll definitely be interesting. Something that I um, wouldn't mind see returning in some fashion is the old Righteous Zeal rule. Something like that would give us a really good another mobility trick. I am concerned about Devout Push. It's really powerful, and GW sometimes tends to take those things away when they transition codexes. I know some of the other chapters lost some powerful stratagems that they had, so I am kind of concerned about that because I think that was a really great stratagem that really represents us. Um, fluff wise, and gives us an edge in a lot of circumstances. So um,
Yeah, I agree. That's probably on the top of the list of things that are probably going to go if we were going to lose something. Um,
yeah,
Especially if they go with a righteous zeal type
style thing.
rule.
Now, I mean, if it was something like Righteous Zeal, sort of the way it was, where if you took a casualty or something like that, um, you know, we could, we potentially get something similar. You get a pile-in move or something like that. That would probably be a decent replacement for it because, it's like, uh, you're going to shoot this unit, and if we're durable enough to only lose one model, well, now they're going to charge forward towards you. It could be bad news. So there's a lot of different directions they could go with that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm not too worried about the Emperor's Will, the advance in charge. Um, I don't think they'll take that one away. There's a lot of, I mean, Dark Eldar or Drukhari have army-wide advance in charge from turn 2 on. So
Yeah.
that's not. It's a great stratagem, but it's not nearly as powerful as something like Devout Push with the shenanigans that you can do with it. So um, I guess we'll see what happens.
Okay, it looks like we have a few questions here in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah,
All right. The first one is Cow goes quack. Do you think it's worth to pick up another box of Blade Guard or wait? Honestly, right now, if that's something that you want to put into your list right now to use, because we don't really have a timeline on when this is going to get released, right? So if you're going to be using them, they're still an awesome unit to have. I like 3-man units. I also like 5-man units. So if something you want to throw into your list, that's going to be a good play no matter what. They're great units. They are potentially good replacement for Terminators if you don't have the room to put a full unit of Terminators in there. But yeah, they're awesome all-arounders, especially if you're playing an all-Primaris army, which is common. Now, with these new rules being released, this is going to be a supplement. So obviously, or rules in the narrative, we don't know what's going on with that yet. But it's going to be in addition to the Space Marine Codex. So your force bar are still safe.
yeah,
So you can still use them. Vanguard veterans aren't going anywhere until they release another edition, because Space Marines almost certainly aren't going to get another one until the very end of 9th edition or towards 10th edition. So, and there's been no rumors of that yet. So your firstborn are safe for now. So I don't think that's any issues. So, feel free to mix them. Taking those Lagar veterans still a
plus
good
it's such
idea
a
if you can
great
pick up a
kit.
box.
It's such a great kit. The multi-part kit is amazing. I even took my because I bought 2 sets of Indominus, and then I got the multi-part kit on top of that, so I could have a total of 10. I used my secondary lieutenant from the Indominus kit, and the other 3 that I hadn't built yet, uh, Blade Guard guys, and I used basically all the bits in the in the Blade Guard multi-part kit to make all the cool poses because there's so much good stuff in there. So I would 100% pick up another kit if you're planning to use it because it's such a great awesome kit and you're looks the dude cleaning the sword and like there's just a lot of really good bits in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have another comment a little bit further up from ND Alum 75, which makes me think of I live in North Dakota, so right in town of the University of North Dakota, so that's what makes me think. But anyway, the comment was, I'm a little disappointed that Rhino Rushes may be less viable because of our unique characters will turn Primaris. So, yes, that will be somewhat of a concern. Right now, we don't use a whole lot in the way of Rhinos. I've been trying to work out a list to make them function, kind of a la Drukhari-esque. You want to try and get around the board. But the problem is, right now, our things that want to go in the Rhinos and transports aren't dangerous enough to really validate having them. We have the Drakari and the Harlequins. When their transports go down, you have the Harlequins units that are like really nasty, will kill anything that they charge. Or you got witches that'll drop out and either tie something up for a turn or two or kill them if they're blood brides, or incubi, or previously it was the liquefier gun racks. So, typically we have things that are in transports that, they want to be protected, driving around, capturing objectives, then they finally go down, then they got something nasty dropping out. Right now, we don't know what the new rules are going to be on it yet, but as
Yep.
the codex currently stands, we don't have anything really super scary in it that can't walk to where they need to go with our movement tricks. So that's kind of where our little dilemma is currently. So, like the Vanguard veterans, they can jump back across the board pretty quickly to get where they need. Terminators can't go in rhinos anyway. And the
Yeah.
Primaris stuff is too expensive,
Yeah.
honestly.
Garth asks, what do we think Primaris Crusaders will look like? More attacks for more points, maybe? I think they'll be probably similar to their Firstborn counterparts. They'll get the standard Primaris upgrade of +1 attack and +1. Well, did they get an extra leadership? I can't remember. But they'll have that extra attack that Primaris always do. And they'll probably have a special rule. Hopefully, it's better than paired combatants because paired combatants is pretty weak. It only benefits the neophyte, which doesn't even make sense. So um, hopefully they'll get like a special rule or two. Hopefully they'll be able to take an extra power weapon or two, which would be awesome. Um, and then they'll of course have hopefully a nice kit. I'm hoping that there'll be some good bits in there as well. But as far as the unit, I think that's probably about what we'll get. I think most of the other buffs will come from like extra attacks will still come from chaplains and things like that.
Yeah. There is, the possibility that they kind of taken the way of the Blood Angels Death Company. I know that
Hmm.
those guys have traditionally been troops. I believe they're in the elite slot now, but
Yeah.
they could take them in large squads. Have some special rules. It'd be kind of cool to have them all access to power weapons if possible. Um, that would obviously make them pretty expensive, but it would be something kind of cool that they could possibly do. So
Yeah. Somehow I don't think they'll get all power weapons, but I mean, if we could
yeah,
get even one or hopefully two extra I think would be great for us, especially with as cheap as like power swords or super cheap lightning claws, super cheap. So those would be some good options. Um, all right. So any final thoughts, Bob?
yeah. I just want to say I think it's a long time coming. 16 years since our last publication, other than the Faith and Fury that we did technically get, but 16 years since our codex. So.
Standalone publication. There you go.
So it's been a great time running. We've been really trying to continue the community. Whether it be on Bolter and Chainsword or on Facebook or Implausible Nature here. Trying to make it competitive as we can. But I hope the new rules that we get are really kind of speaking to the community as a whole, because we have thousands and thousands of players.
Yep.
Many of you are part of this community. Have seen how many. We have over 3,000 Black Templars players on this channel.
Yep.
Thank you, by the way, for all those subs that have come through. We appreciate it. But Facebook has over 5,000 members in one of the main Black Templars.
Yeah.
Bolter and Chainsaw. There's tons of players in all walks of life, whether it be competitive or casual or
Yep.
even just hobby players.
Yep.
So I hope that really kind of feeds into that codex and gives us some options. And I hope that Games Workshop, when they do whatever form that this takes, they have a ton of pictures, because I love looking at all those pictures of all the armies, even if it's not mine. That's really cool.
Yep.
And it's something they really kind of stopped doing. I wish they hadn't.
Yep, I agree. So thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed our quick stream here or the chat. And thanks for supporting us. If you guys want to continue to support the channel, we do have a Patreon. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you to all of our regular subscribers as well. This is why we do this, is for you guys, because there is no other dedicated Black Templar content out there, and we want to be that presence for you. So come join our Discord. There's a link down in the description. We've got a great community of folks there sharing tactics and strategies and list building and hobby stuff, everything that you can imagine. So come check us out there as well. And until next time, have a great one.
We'll be talking to you guys soon.
Yep, definitely.